Hey there, my name is Ben Snyder, and today we're taking a look at Google Analytics. This is my second video in my two-video series introducing Google Analytics. The first video covered the important reports, most commonly important reports that the majority of people want to take a look at, and today we're going to take a look at what those reports mean, what kind of actionable decisions we might be able to make with that data. Now, what you see here is the dashboard for Google Analytics for the website artisthousemusic.org. Now, artisthousemusic.org, if you're not familiar with it, is a website that's dedicated to all things music business in an educational sense. So if you want to learn anything about the music business, they more than likely have a video there that can shed some light and provide some insight on the topic, whether you want to be a drum tech or you want to be a musician or a manager or a lawyer or a marketing guy. They have covered all aspects of that by interviewing people all around the industry. They have a tremendous amount of video content on their website. Now, they've been nice enough to let us take a look at their traffic data, and this is lifetime traffic data for the website. For all intents and purposes, they went live a little bit later than May, but as you can see, there was some traffic there, so we'll go ahead and include it. They've done a little bit better than 2.5 million visits in this lifetime, nearly 6 million page views. They will probably cross that later today or tomorrow. That's kind of neat. And we can kind of get a feel for which way these graphs are trending. You know, like this is upwards, which is good. This is same graph. This is sort of consistent, which is interesting. It's worth investigating. Pages per visit, that sort of explains this, right? That's decreased. Should probably try and explain this, like whether that's a good thing or not, because it could go either way depending on how people use the website. So we need to find out that information if we want to decide whether 2.34 is a good number or a low number or a high number or what have you. Most people would say instinctively, and I feel this way too, it's probably a little bit low. I think we could probably get that up at least above 3, and we'd be in a little bit better shape. The bounce rate has trended up higher as well. That could be a function of the changing usage patterns that people have with the website. It could be because the website is unusable. It could be because the website is extremely usable. We can investigate that as well. Average time on site seems to decrease as bounce rate increases and pages per visit decrease. So we're basically seeing that people, when they come to the website, even though we have more people coming to the website over time they're going, they're spending less time on the website and they're staying at a more shallow level. They're not navigating as they would through 5 or 6 or 7 pages of content, either looking around because it's interesting or even looking around because it's confusing. They either bail because it's extremely difficult to use the website, or it's not providing them what they think they need immediately, or it is providing them what they need immediately and they've gotten the answers to their questions and they're gone, right? What we do seem to at least be able to say from here is that over the lifetime, we're only looking at about 30% return visitors, right? So I'm actually interested in this report because we've just given ourselves an overview of the lifetime of this website. Now, if we were going to make a decision based on what do we want to do for the second half of 2011, being that we're in March right now, we would not look at data in this span, this nearly 4-year span. We would probably look at data in the preceding 3 or 6 or 12 months or all 3 and sort of contrast them against each other. So we try and get a more up-to-date image of how people are using the website. But for the purposes of today's video, we're just going to take a look at this through lifetime. Okay, so now that we've seen that we get more people but they're spending less time on the website, we need to figure out more about these people, and the place to start is new versus returning. Okay, now what we really want to see here is this, and it's kind of as you would expect. Returning visitors are looking at slightly more information than new visitors are, and they're spending 40% more time, right? Something like that. Their bounce rate's also lower. So It's important to know what a new visitor is versus a returning visitor. A new visitor is not somebody who is coming to the website for the first time. That's what the word new means, but that's not what it means in this context. What it really means is it's the first time that somebody has come to the website in 30 days. So all they got to do is take 4 weeks off, and we see somebody as a new visitor again. So it's highly likely that more than these 1.842 million people are new. Some of these are returning. Okay, now a returning visitor is anybody who comes back within that 30-day period. So we would expect there to be people would spend more time on the site if you're a return visitor. We expect them to look at a few more pages, and the fact that the bounce rate is high suggests that they are finding what they're looking for. Otherwise, they wouldn't come back, right? Well, I can think of a counter argument for that, and that's kind of what you have to do. You kind of have to conjecture these things out a little bit. The counter argument would be that somebody couldn't find it the first time, so they decided to give another go, and they got equally frustrated and they left, right? So one page one time, one page another time. They bounced both times. It's possible, but you kind of need to file those away so we could take a look at those later. That's really what you're trying to do here with this analytics data, is you're trying to think about scenarios, because this is all about trying to understand your user from the data trail that they leave. We're not tracking them individually, so some of this is just kind of like trying to be intuitive with the data. And we're going to make some great decisions, and some decisions we're not going to be so close on all the time, because there's a wide degree of error. You have to get sort of comfortable with that. So another interesting thing about this is, can we tell about pages per visit? Do we know that some sources of traffic are essentially higher quality sources? They deliver people who either need the data the way that Artist House has it provided, or they're driving people who are just more interested in the particular fields, students, for example, over maybe the average, say, guitar player who's just looking for a chart. I don't think Artist House has a lot of that. So, guys who are Googling around for guitar are eventually going to find Artist House. Are they going to find what they're looking for? It's possible. Certainly possible. Let's take a look at traffic sources. Okay, now that we're taking a look at the traffic sources for the website, what we want to find out is if there are any particular major sources of traffic that have an unusually high number of pages per visit or time on site, right? So the first thing we want to do is, we see 10 rows here by default. Let's make this 100 high, and then just kind of cruise through until we see sort of where the traffic peters out. So by about the 46th referral, we got less than 1,000 views, and that's over 4 years. So if you're asking me, I'm going to make the cutoff like the top 20. So anything that gets 2,500 visits or more over the lifetime of the website, I'm going to at least take a look at and see what happens here, okay? Now, the winner, this is the bottom, right, is, oddly enough, it is traffic that came from live organic. Now, here's what's sort of crap about this. If we look just at live traffic, where did I say it was? Down here. It all goes away in 2009. Now, if you're asking yourself, half of you are smiling right now, the other half of you are wondering what happened. What happened is Live changed its name to Bing, and so now we see that Bing traffic is up here. So let's take a look at this. Right? If we put the two together, You'd basically get one long graph where they intersect right here. So that's kind of interesting in and of itself. I guess we can get rid of this. And but it doesn't help us. So this does not help us. What else can we see? We're down to 365. I think the 391 probably wins, right? Okay, so that's good. That's YouTube. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, because see how live down here had the 5 minutes and 10 seconds, and we're not really breaking into the fives anywhere else except from YouTube. Okay, why would that be? I mean, pause the video if you want to, because I'm going to keep talking, but just think about it. Why would we get the most average time on site from YouTube users? Well, there are a couple reasons for that. The first one, and if you're not familiar with the YouTube, user slash. Right. This is the Artist House Music channel, and so as you can see, they've got 1,241 videos that they've uploaded, and if you take a look at some of their most viewed videos, 200,000 views on down. So it's not a tremendous number of views per video, and that's what are typical of Artist House. Nothing is just blowing the roof off the place, but there's a lot of stuff that's getting a lot of what I call middle of the road amounts of traffic. It's higher than most, but it's consistent in the 35, 20,000 views. Multi tens of thousands, but not many videos with millions of views, certainly. So what these people on YouTube are doing is they're taking the content in its natural state, right? I mean, that's what Artist House does, is video. So they're already watching the video that is on Artist House Music, but they're watching it on YouTube. So when they come over to Artist House, they already know what they're in for. So it's more than likely that the case that they're going to be comfortable with the format of the website and more willing to participate in the content in the way that content is being delivered right now. All right. So what that's telling you is that these people like video. It's obvious, but you kind of have to work it out. Everybody else has this. There's like a magic threshold. Now, there's a general. I heard this number many years ago, so I assume this can change, but I'm betting you that it hasn't. That the average person goes about 3 pages deep into a new website. Now, if it's a website they follow all the time, or if it's a website that demands a lot of shopping around, if it's like an Amazon, or if you're in an MLS because you're researching homes because you're thinking about moving, you can expect those numbers to be high, but most everybody else gets a few pages before they're out of there. Now, 3 pages is the norm. So if 3 pages is the norm, 2.34 over a lifetime is underperforming by that metric, right? Now, the other metric that I've heard is that you get 45 seconds per page, more or less. So that's 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Well, we're beating that metric. But I guarantee you that the average video clip is longer than 2 minutes and 52 seconds. And if you take into account the amount of time it takes for somebody to get to the content, presuming that they don't land directly on it, you quickly get a pattern that says that they're not watching the entire video. So, is that a problem or not? Well, traffic's still growing, so either search engines are giving driving unfair amounts of traffic to us, or it is working. And we know, because Artist House has content from various universities and colleges, music schools that use the website, that we are providing a resource, a valuable resource to the music community. Now, the real question that we want to know is not are we good or are we bad, because we're somewhere in the middle. We're always going to be somewhere in the middle. What we want to know is what can we do going forward. And what we can see here quite clearly is that people are in and out, but more people are coming to the website, and that video content is most accessible by people who are familiar with video. So It's not a content problem, although I do believe that maybe there's something of a delivery problem. Perhaps there are ways in which the content can be better delivered, either through a summary on the page with a link to a transcript and maybe an MP3 rip of the video so that somebody can take that and listen to it later on if they want to. Maybe a citations page. These are all ideas that you could have when you're trying to take a page, and let's just pick one at random.
Merchandising is...
And you say this video is a minute and 50 seconds long, so if the average person spends $2.52 on the website, they could watch that entire video. I guess I kind of have to take back what I said just a second ago. Are they going to read that? And is there anything else that they can do here? Not so much. I mean, what, print the paragraph about Jeff Dornfeld? So you can see that essentially there's a lot of traffic coming to this page or these pages. This is sort of what a typical page looks like. And there are ways that I think we're probably underserving our customer right now. I think Google Analytics bears that out. And so at this point, it becomes a matter of thinking about the audience. Who's the audience? The easiest way that I know to get this data is through Quantcast. So, here we go. Now, first jacked up thing that you have to understand is that these numbers are different than Google Analytics numbers. I'm not going to take the time to prove it to you, but just trust me, the numbers are different. And so we're already working outside of, we're working with two different sets of data. So you have to either trust that the data is close enough or you can't believe the data. And I'm going to go with close enough here. All right, if only because I've seen the demographics, and so I know what they're suggesting, and it just makes sense to me. Could be a male or female, anybody that's coming to the website, right? Duh. I mean, it's within the margin of error of 3%. I don't know what this margin of error is, but 3% is at least pretty good. Young adults, really we're looking at 18 to 49. See, the index is above 100 there. It's even a little bit above that. So we appeal to most everybody who cares about living, you know? Sorry, 3 to 12, you don't really care. 50 plus, you're staring down a lifetime of grits, right? Okay. I know, sorry to everybody who's sensitive for that. I'm just kidding. All right, ethnicity is not heavily African American, even though it looks like it tilts this way. See, it's only 18%. But what it is it's African American skewed that way in relationship to other websites, which makes sense because we're talking about music, and so music is going to appeal to everybody, and so it would make sense that we would see a bunch of students, and students. It's just, do I have to say any more? Okay. This is really irrelevant for a lot of what Artist House does. Less affluent makes sense because they're college kids or poor adults, right? And college graduates, you know, we basically sit right there, but sort of undergraduate school. So college is more or less no college. I mean, we sit right in the smack dab middle of everything, right? People 18 to 49 who may or may not have gone to college, who are more than likely. I mean, this is practically the same here. Who have money at this point, who are a color that's sort of close to the national average, and who are a gender. So that's not really helpful. It's super broad, except for one thing. It proves that Artist House attracts a huge demographic, right? It attracts that huge demographic in an increasing amount. It's, as we saw on the dashboard, from a huge number of sources. And through a just tremendous number of keywords. We'll take a look at that briefly. So everything that we see is expanding. It's not drawing us into a conclusion. It's like we've got too much of everything. We don't have a demographic because our demographic is everybody. We don't have a set of keywords that do the best for Artist House because there's tons of them. We don't have traffic that's all driven to one page. It's driven to pages far and wide across the website. You know, there's almost like there's no traction. The only thing that's remarkable about it is that everything is that way. So what does that tell you? I mean, that must be the takeaway data, right? So if it's the takeaway data, what do we take away? Okay, well, I think what we take away is that we're a general resource for people. Period. I mean, it's not a general resource for musicians. It's not a general resource. I mean, you could say it's a general resource for people with an interest in music and music business. That's about it. So there's nothing specific that we can really draw ourselves to. This is what I was getting at. 603,000 different keywords. Do the math. That's like 3 people per keyword. That's extremely, extremely diversified. So knowing that we have a wide appeal, I think what we need to do is try and be more broad-based in the information that we provide on an individual page. That's what I take away from what we just looked at. Marketing endeavors on how to get up traffic on a particular network. We could take a look at that depending on what marketing goals we want to reach. The marketing goals here for Artist House, and that's pretty much what we started with, so it's what we'll end with, is to increase traffic ultimately and to provide value to those people. It really is kind of an altruistic thing, as you can see. There's really no way that they're driving any revenue right now. So if we were to do that, we could then take a tool like Crazy Egg, and we're not going to go into it, but I just will bring it up so you can see this. We would use a tool like Crazy Egg, where there is a heat map, is what they do. Maybe you can see this here. To provide click data. And so as we see the metrics change, as we see the number of pages per visit change, the length of time on site change, we see the click patterns change based on upgrading the pages in the way that we've talked a bit about, then we'll know whether we're doing something better or worse and can continue to customize until we get the results that we want. And it's basically what we're getting out of analytics. It is a tool of measurement. And so it allows you to make some decisions and then to create some tests. And then it's just a matter of running those tests, analyzing those results, and then starting anew. That's really what Google Analytics enables. So I hope this sort of thought process of going through Artist House and using some metrics through Google Analytics and maybe even a little in Quantcast and throwing over to Crazy Egg has been helpful just to kind of think through the thought process. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments or let me know. Send me a message. Thanks. Bye.